my immediate first reaction to the second movie was, oh my gosh, the animation is terrible. I could not stand the all CG. It was just very jarring.
The way they drew Ben's hair, it looked like he had two poops on his head.
Yeah, or like mouse ears or something. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is stupid. I mean, we were better off with traditional, 2D animation. And we've had, a blending of CG and 2D animation all this time, and it was done well, sometimes better than others. But this just struck me as, hey, look what we can do. Yeah, it sucks. I mean, there were a couple things that were kind of cool, like when they would do the close-ups on the Omnitrix. Yeah, it was pretty good.
yeah.
And when they did, and I can't remember which one it is, the one that shoots the green crystals, his face actually looked
Tetrax.
kind of metal.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean yeah, the this galvanic mechamorph and the when Ben turns upgrade. Yeah, that actually looks like metal.
Yeah.
That
I do
looked kinda
like I do
cool.
like that.
But I didn't like the way they drew Ben. Gwen was okay, but yeah, Ben just didn't look right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, we get more power creep from Gwen, as now she's able to, read minds and stuff. I mean, it's getting pretty out there. I mean, if we don't end up getting an episode where, she goes full on witch, a la Willow from Buffy, and it has to be taken down because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention Galadriel from Lord of the Rings. Like that.
Yeah,
moment at the end of
that's
Fellowship of the
another
Ring.
good one. Yeah, it's another perfect example of the same trope. It's
one immediate thing that I'm sure you'll notice from this movie: Gwen's magic is pink now.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's related to changes that happen in Alien Force, because obviously this came out after Alien Force.
Oh, okay.
So they decided, hey, let's make Gwen's magic look the same as it does in Alien Force.
Which, yeah.
Well,
I guess you could say the color changed because of age, maybe, or maybe aging or something like that.
My thing is, I hope they didn't make it pink because she's a girl. Because no.
Well, I think it's to represent her personality. I mean, some girls, do tend towards that kind of a trope, and that's perfectly fine. That's But yeah, hi Melissa Harris, how you doing? So now it really is becoming where Gwen's magical ability is the panacea, the Deus Ex Machina. Whenever we need someone to do something that we can't figure out how to work it in there, or we need an easy fix, Gwen can just magic, which is always the danger of magic in writing, but that is what it is. Very much. But what I will say as far as the story here is we definitely get much more of the character growth from both Gwen and Ben, as they both feel responsible for the circumstance they're in and want to take responsibility. And I don't want to say shield each other from it, but out of the grief of their guilt, don't really want to cast aspersions on each other, which is an incredibly big step forward for both of them.
There's actually one thing about this movie that I noticed is originally this movie was considered non-canon But then later on, Omniverse will actually directly reference the events of this movie for like some of the stuff that happens there. So this movie is a later point considered canon, but when it was made, it was considered non-canon.
Why would it be considered non-canon? It doesn't really step outside of the narrative, or even have any elements that conflict with anything.
Yeah, I couldn't actually find an answer as to why they decided for it to be non-canon originally.
Mm-hmm.
All I found was it was non-canon when it was made, and then a later show referenced it, and that kind of brought it into the continuity.
Yeah, we definitely get more of the lore of the Omnitrix, of the creator of the Omnitrix, so that definitely does keep it in the narrative line of the previous movie. We have the return of several characters. We have the return of the creator of the Omnitrix. We have the return of the Petrosapien.
Yeah, Tetrax.
Tetrax, thank you. So and of course we also still have them having come home after, the summer, and so forth. That's the one thing that joins all three of the movies, is this is clearly taking place after the summer during the school year.
Yeah, because doesn't Grandpa even make a comment song about, I promised I'd get you home by 8?
That was what
right at the beginning.
Exactly. So and what you'd have is, this is back to what Nanette kept trying to reference, was the whole battle at the beginning of the Battle of Wills between Ben and Gwen. We need to do it my way. No, we need to do it my way. And because they both want to force the issue, they end up, causing this big problem that,
because
conflict.
Ben tries using upgrade on the tank, and Gwen uses like a disassembling spell, and she ends up hitting the Omnitrix while Ben's like on the tank.
Yeah, which is, and I'll be honest with you, when you get right down to it, yeah, she really did, overstep herself, and it really was her responsibility. She's the one who really did cause this,
Yeah.
There does come a point where, when you have two superpowered beings, you need to work together. You can't just unilaterally decide, I'm doing this, and since she's come to her powers kind of later, she really does need to take the whole, okay, I'm in a supporting role kind of situation here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I also have the title of this movie is a reference to one of the Godzilla movies that was called Destroy All Monsters.
Yep.
And also it's also referencing a PS2 game called Destroy All Humans, which was actually a really good PS2 game.
Yeah,
I actually have a copy of it.
So we have another situation where the Omnitrix is malfunctioning. They would obviously want to talk
somewhere on that shelf right there. I don't quite remember where. The bottom shelf where the
I see.
This shelf here. Somewhere there. The PS2 games behind them.
Yep. Nice.
Oh wow.
You got a good collection of stuff there, man. That's really cool.
Actually, this shelf up here, if I do that, see that gap up there? That was actually piled with DVDs. I've actually taken them off. They're right here. They're all piled right here. Oh, and I have the James Bond movie collection. That's literally all the Bond films. Cool. I actually got that relatively cheap, by the way.
Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. Nowadays that collection was worth, like, you have to pay like £40-50 in order to get a hold of that collection now. Wow. Although I actually got it from a Morrison's for like £11, like 5 years ago, I think.
Not bad.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, the title of the movie is referencing those two things.
Yep. And we again have a situation where there's a malfunction in the Omnitrix, so seeking out the creator would probably be a good thing, but looks like he's been wasted. You know, this. I'll be honest with you. When we finally find out what ended up happening, it's kind of a trick ending, you know, and it's like, oh, and then they reference back. The visual clues were there, you know, but it's very unlikely you would have caught them because you didn't really realize what was happening at the time.
Yeah.
But overall, what you end up with is an alien upgrade type character that is probably the stupidest character. I mean, he must have a learning deficiency or something. I mean,
I think it's also the galvanic mechamorph suit that he's in, because they do mention at the end that it heightens aggression.
It absolutely, yeah, and that helps a little bit. But I'm sorry, that's a level of stupid I just have never seen anyone in this show capable of before. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where, you know, it's like every single time he says, what was that one line? Aliens don't just fall out of the sky. And what immediately happens? Aliens fall out of the sky. And that's like the third time in the show he said something that can't happen, and then it does. Or, you know, something happens to disprove what he just said. It's like, is he now completely incapable of learning at all? I mean, that's pretty bad. There was something, aliens don't just disappear or something like that. And what immediately happens? He turns into gray matter and apparently disappears, you know? And it's like, maybe it's time for you to start listening, because every time he says something, it turns out to be the truth. You're lying, you're lying, you're lying. Why do you think I'm lying? Have I lied to you yet?
I also do like that joke somewhere in there where Ben falls from space and he lands here in England, and he's like right near the Stonehenge. And when Ben like says like, "Hey, stop it! You're ruining an ancient Earth artifact," and the alien just says, "Don't you know a Galvin practical joke when you see one?" I did find that funny when you said that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's, it just started to get very frustrating because this guy just
refused to listen.
Just seemed completely incapable of learning anything.
It's like, suspend your disbelief for just a moment
and then
listen to me.
The whole thing about, look, all of these aliens you've been seeing, they're all me. And then he literally sees him change in front of his eyes and he's still not getting it. I'm like, oh gosh. Yeah, that was incredibly frustrating. I get the joke, but I think they took it way too far.
Yeah. And we also get a bit of more tactical thinking from Tetrax, because when they see the blue and was it, where is the picture of the thing? This thing. The other Toku star, which is actually Azimuth turned into one by the Omnitrix, or accidentally, obviously. But when they first see it and they don't know it's Azimuth, and Ben tries rushing in, and Tetrax like grabs him and says like, "No, first rule of battle is like attack the weak spot." And he's like Toku stars have I think it's like a vulnerability on their fin or something.
Right.
Something like what he says.
Right, which we get a payoff on later on when Ben gets hit in the fin and becomes frozen.
Yeah. There's also a little detail about Toku stars well, it's not really referenced in this movie, but it is something that's kind of a general fact of the series is that Toku stars are the rarest aliens in the universe because they're born in galactic storms.
It kind of makes sense when you think about it, because I mean, I can't imagine a planet with, all of these giant, humanoids like this. It just
Yeah.
it stretches credulity. It's not like you could have you know these huge creatures on a larger planet, because inverse square rule, it would be impossible for them to stand up in that kind of gravity. But at the same time, you can't have a smaller planet with these giant creatures on it, because it'd be not enough room for them on the planet. So yeah, it's kind of a bizarre thing to think about. But yeah, I don't get the impression they put that much thought into a lot of these aliens. We need a giant, humanoid for this scene. So
yeah, I will also point out the design for Waybig in the Secrets of the Omnitrix movie, and then his design in this movie. It is slightly different.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, but that's
and you can explain that away as there might be some sort of evolution of the character over time.
Yeah, because the design of Waybig in this movie is actually the same one that's used in Alien Force when we're following 15-year-old Ben.
Right.
So you can assume that design is like a 15-year-old Toku star, maybe.
And
which doesn't make sense when it's used with this Ben.
And as I had said in the green room before the show, the look of this character is very Ultraman-like.
Yeah, he is. Oh, what the hell? Hold on, man. Just out of curiosity, is my voice suddenly louder?
It is a little bit better now. Yeah, you had gotten quiet for a while.
Yeah, weird. I don't know. Okay, that was strange. Maybe that was just on my end, but my voice went super loud for a moment there, and now it's back to normal.
Yeah, it does sound better. So yeah, I and that's why when I saw your icon, I thought it was a clear homage to a live action version of Waybig, because it just kind of fits.
Yeah, because Ultraman's color scheme is very like red and silver, and Waybig in both this movie and the previous one, they're both red and white. Here's an image. That might not be the design from the movie. That might be from one of the games, I think. But yeah, it's like very similar.
Yep.
The patterns are different, but the colors are the same.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't want to be too on the nose. It was, clearly, it seemed to clearly be referencing that.
Yeah. And also Waybig doesn't have like a little light on his forehead that indicates how long he can stay giant.
Right.
I suppose they could have put the Omnitrix there. That would have been a good substitute for that feature.
True.
Yeah. We also have when everyone is like absorbed into the Omnitrix itself, it then recreates specific environments. Well, for some people, or for some instances, like it recreates an image of Petropia, which is Tetrax's home planet.
Yeah.
And then in another instance, it will just recreate Bellwood, which is Ben's hometown.
Right.
I don't know if it's tailoring these like designs specifically to who's been absorbed, or if it's just completely random.
I think it was trying to make things familiar for them, so they didn't realize they were in the Omnitrix, but they figured it out anyway.
Yeah, it's very unclear how this particular malfunction is. I mean, I know they tried to explain it, in the denouement, where she's explaining what she did and how it happened and whatnot, but it never really got clear to me. What it really comes down to is I shoot boom boom and it make messed up go zzz, that's really what I got from it.
I do like the fact that when Tetrax, when he first when he's actually in there and he first sees that the Omnitrix has recreated his home planet, he doesn't realize that at first. He just
Yeah.
assumes he's back on his home planet.
Yeah.
I do like that, like look on his face when he sees it.
Which, from a story point of view, you can infer a great deal from that. That had to be a huge emotional thing for him, right?
Yeah. There is actually an episode of I think it's Alien Force season 3 that will actually go more in depth with Tetrax's backstory, Petropolis and like what happened and all of that. There is like an episode that's specifically based around all of that.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to worry about that right now. Also, I've noticed that the name of the planet wouldn't that technically mean rock paradise or something like that? Because it's like Petro meaning rock, and the Petropia part is obviously utopia.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm thinking, so does that
Well,
mean it's just
Opia just means like land or city or whatever. Utopia
okay?
being
So
a specific
Rockland or Rock City.
Yeah. You know, it's the derivative of just like utopia, dystopia, you know. So
Yeah.
But yeah, that's and we get the I mean, we're going through this whole thing, so it's not like we have to worry about spoilers. So
Yeah.
we find out that the big bad of the episode is actually the father of the creator of the Omnitrix.
Yeah, Asimov's father. I don't think they gave him. I don't think they mentioned his name. I'm pretty sure they just go. I think they just refer to him as Asimov's father, and I think they just leave it at that.
And I was totally fine with that concept. It just made zero sense to me that they make him physically younger, and they even comment on it.
Yeah, I don't understand that part.
Why do you look younger? Oh, you don't understand, you know.
Well, think about it. Remember Mork and Mindy?
I know, and it's stupid. It makes zero sense.
You age backwards.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's ridiculous. If you don't have some good story reason for it, you should not be doing that. In Mork and Mindy, it was just cornball humor. Here, it really needs to have a purpose, and it doesn't. And they don't explain it. And I'm going to guess they never even come back to it again.
I don't recall any episode later on mentioning like Galvin aging or anything like that.
So, it's not real surprising. I kind of wasn't surprised to find out that, you know, the father and son were the same species, you know.
Yeah, I do find it funny that Gwen's even like mentions that to Ben, because like for some reason Ben didn't kind of catch on to the fact that they're the same species despite being related.
Right. Maybe he takes after his mother. I mean, that was a great line, but when you consider, we know how upgrade works, right?
Yeah.
It kind of made sense. Although I guess I didn't realize that it was a single technology that he was using. This, you know, I thought it was
suit.
Yeah, I thought he had some sort of an encounter suit that additionally had you know, an upgrade done to it, which would have made him two characters, which would not have made a lot of sense in the story. So I guess the way they went with it actually does make more sense.
Yeah. I mean, that does kind of go into the whole, like, because this would be considered a pure mechamorph, because it can absorb like another technology, and then that technology is then a part of that mechamorph, and it can recreate that even if it's not attached to the original technology it has absorbed.
Yeah.
And I would assume at some point either Asimov or someone else had this suit and then just absorbed a whole bunch of various technologies and various things, and now the suit can then do all of what we see it do.
Kind of like a wearable Omnitrix. I mean,
kind of, yeah. I do. There is that comparison there.
Yeah, and
So
Asimov even uses the his father in the Mechamorph suit to then repair the Omnitrix.
right. And so the father, um his whole purpose is trying to get his son back and try and reconnect with him. Okay, got that.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Then when he thinks that his son is dead, he wants to avenge his son's death,
Yeah.
only to
And
find out.
all he has is the a few little clips of what happened.
Right.
And
So he makes
because he sees those clips out of context, it makes sense that he would think Asimov's dead.
right,
Because all he sees is Asimov piloting the ship, and then a Toku starts stepping on that ship from a different perspective.
right, and from our point of view, we're thinking it's the same thing he is, right? So yeah, we're kind of getting that. Although I do have to say, at about the 3/4 mark of the show, I was kind of starting to figure it out, because it was like, wait a minute, they can't kill off, what's the character's name again?
Asimov.
Azimuth. Can't kill off Azimuth, because we need somebody to fix the Omnitrix. So, he's probably coming back. Oh, wait a minute. What if he is the giant alien that he's been chasing after? But then again, stupid, won't listen, can't be taught. That is your son. I don't believe you. I got to get revenge. Dude, you're gonna kill your son. The son you're trying to avenge, you're gonna kill.
And
Can
when
you
Ben's
understand this simple piece of logic?
yeah, we even do get Ben being annoyed by just the way he's acting as well.
Right. I
think,
referenced that before, where he's like, "Oh my gosh, is this what people have to go through with me?"
Yeah.
He even says, "I'm starting to sound like Gwen." It was very frustrating. And again, if Ben doesn't come away with that lesson, then the whole show is pointless. The whole story. It's like, why did you even bother making this movie if he doesn't actually come away with it having learned something? Hey, Matanui, how you doing? Good to see you. But that's but yeah, I guess that's the whole point of it. He figures out it's his son. Gwen actually is instrumental in helping to fix it and straighten it out. Again, feeling very responsible for what's happened. I think rightly so in this circumstance.
Yeah. And also, one thing you might have noticed, Gwen sounded slightly different. It's the same voice actor from the previous movie and the show itself. But I suppose that's more down to the fact that this movie came out like over 5 or so years after the original show.
Yeah.
And also, this is the last time we're going to hear Megan Smith, who voices Gwen. This is the last time we're going to hear her voice as 10-year-old Gwen.
Yeah,
we are going to see 10-year-old Gwen again, but it's not going to be the same person voicing her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the reasons why exactly.
And it does make sense that the voices do need to mature. So I do understand that.
The Alien Force actor for Gwen is the person who will voice basically every version of Gwen going forward, or after this.
We also see a great deal of development in the relationship between Gwen and Ben, which I have no hope is going to actually stick, but it should. A bit of understanding of each other, a bit of opportunity for them to start working together better. But whether or not that actually comes to pass, I'll find out, I suppose.
Yeah. Is that about everything that we got to say on this movie?
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to the final